Welcome to TALRadio podcast. I'm your host for the episode, Rajeshwari Kalyanam. We are with Lina Mookerjee, the second episode. Lina, welcome again.
Thank you very much. And it's lovely to be in conversation with you again.
Thank you so much. It has been wonderful talking to you, and it gave us a lot of thoughts to process. But I would like to start by asking you about how women or when do women start to recognize that they have issues during menopause, because menopause has been in a way normalized in households because
Mm.
you have elders saying they are already, I mean, it's a normal thing.
Mm.
So how does a woman start to understand she has problems?
Well, it's a very good question, and each woman is individual. But what I'm hearing is very much the recognition when the old coping mechanisms that help us to deal with stress. So whether that's family stress, looking after children, lots of demands, the cultural stresses, but also the work stresses, when those coping mechanisms are, that we use in life, so whether that's overworking, eating, drinking, etc., don't work, and we find that our moods are swinging, we feel unstable in the sense of feeling anxious, but also feeling irritated and frustrated that, somebody may ask you to do something and you go, oh my God, who do you think I am? And it's out of proportion to the simple offer that somebody, or the question somebody's asked, that we need to step back and recognize what is going on. And it's because often the there's so many changes in our hormonal system as our estrogen levels are dropping, our body's changing, that it's an invitation to really to take responsibility, but recognizing it can be a very slow process of change. But the irritability, if it doesn't go away, is a sign that something's not okay and needs addressing, needs to be given attention to, um, but not to be shamed, not to think there's something wrong with you. It's part of the process.
Well, you speak about a lot of mental health issues,
Mm,
and a lot of them are related to menopause.
mm,
How does a woman deal with them? Does she prepare for them before?
mm,
Because
mm.
menopause is a reality. So is there a way a woman can prepare herself for what's coming?
Absolutely. Information, Rajeshwari. So information and knowledge. We have so much information out there available on the net. And it's going to good sources, and I can inform you of some good sources to refer to. But it's also talking with other women and seeking out speakers, good speakers like myself, and there's many in the world, because we have access now to many who have made it their life work to make it explicit around these issues, but not to hide. The key thing is get information, get yourself informed, don't hide or notice if you are, and do something about it. It's what I call stepping into your adult, your grown up. So if you are 42, 43, which is when I started my menopause, I remember my big thing was to go seek information, because I did not want to repeat what my mother went through, which was suffering in silence. And it was awful because we all suffered. I didn't want to do that to my husband. But at the same time, it's like this is a tough process. So information is key, and also seeking help. So whether that's through getting a good counselor or a trusted friend. Often friends are not the easiest. You may want to share experiences, but they're going to have an agenda. They just want to make you feel better. Whereas actually to find someone who you can speak to independently in a neutral place that you feel safe is key. And you talk it out, and then that helps to reassure that you are not going mad, because often we can feel like our reality is changing that much that we need a reality check. And that's where menopause is a very can be a very exciting time, very distressing as well, because it's all about change. So it's how we prepare in advance, and it's taking responsibility. Absolutely, I'd be saying that as number one.
Just one more question leading on, related to health. You said anger is a very important a sign that there's something wrong and you are actually having signs of menopause.
Mm.
Are there any other key indicators that we miss
Well,
health related indicators that we miss that could be related to menopause?
oh, absolutely. The aches and pains, the well, lots of what I call drying out symptoms. I remember with my first menopause, I felt like my bones were shrinking, and they were, because that's what happens when, and it was an enforced process, but certainly when I had my natural menopause, body's changing shape. So aches, pains, constipation, digestive problems, sweating, body odor changing, that it can really smell offensive, our hair changing, so it becomes more brittle, because again, estrogen affects everywhere. Brain fog, feeling you can't concentrate, you're forgetting things, sugar levels fluctuating, so literally energy levels fluctuating, often feeling flat rather than up. But also, as I said, aches and pains, fibromyalgia is another sign, and we can get confused that we think there's something wrong with us. The number of doctors I consulted over a 5-year period, thinking there's something wrong. Well, yes, there is, because it's the hormonal changes that affects every organ of the body, but it's because of menopause rather than being something symptomatic of something more sinister. It wasn't. So there are a collection of things that are happening, and again, getting information about that is key, and finding a doctor who is informed about menopause rather than who doesn't know is really important.
Well, that's an important thing we learn.
Mm.
So there is women and career, which never goes away. I mean, we are career oriented, most of them, and when it is midlife, most women who weren't working begin to work, or most human beings think of a career change or a shift in what
Yeah.
they're doing. And here women are dealing with menopause, competition, disparity in wages.
Yes.
We are still dealing with these problems. So how is the workplace going to treat us? How are we going to deal with workplace
Mm.
when we are going through menopause?
Mm. Well, similarly, as I was saying in the first podcast, that actually being aware of your needs starts there. So where are you feeling there's inequality in your life? Is it financial? Is it the fact that you're expected to do more than a man would in the workplace? And why? So the fact that this is going to be a long-term project of changing mindsets, because we live in a patriarchal society, and that means men have more leverage of power than women. So it's about women standing up and saying, this is what I need, on par with what men are getting. So you're pointing out with evidence. So we don't say, it's not fair. Well, where's your evidence? Where is the disparity? Whether it's, I said, financial, also job opportunities and promotion. How come I've been waiting 6 years and he gets it within 3 months? As an example of getting promoted. So again, it's about collecting evidence and then challenging management as to what is going on, and saying this is what we need in order to get the best out of a female workforce, which is incredibly creative. We have so many facets and wonderfulness in terms of the skills. We're multitaskers. We're also highly intuitive in terms of how we come up with ideas in our creativity. So it's really about standing up rather than getting aggressive. It's about putting points across with evidence to get your needs met. And it's campaigning, constantly campaigning. But also it's down to your self-worth. How much do you value yourself to have needs to get them met? So it's two pronged. So not only are we fighting with not fighting, but campaigning and challenging management, but it's also, am I worth it? Do I deserve a better quality of life? And that's where it really has to start. Can we then, challenge and make changes in the outer world? But it's a slow process, because it has to start with self. And if you've been conditioned to put everybody else first and yourself last, that's where the change has to happen, putting yourself a little bit closer up to the top of that ladder as opposed to everybody else.
We are still getting around to making men understand menstrual issues, and now menopause. So where is that going, Lina? Are you talking to men? Do men involve
Yes,
themselves in your talks?
they do.
How is it going?
Oh, absolutely. So when I was doing a series of public lectures at our public library, um, particularly around menopause and mental health awareness, a lot would say, what on earth do we do, Lina? And it's about education. It's about the relationship, because often a woman doesn't need things done to her. She needs someone to listen to her. And it's the word empathy. And empathy basically means not sympathy, going there, I feel really sorry for you. It's about really wanting to get a sense of what it's like being in her world. And if we can give women through relationship a space and time, whether that's an hour a day, half an hour a day, or once a week, whenever it is, you negotiate where it's both educating men. So it's about women explaining to their spouses around and husbands around this is what I'm going through. And then for the men to say, what do you need? So it becomes a relationship. You're in it together rather than it being a fight, because it can create all sorts of problems, because nobody likes change. You know, human beings are creatures of comfort, and we want to continue with our routines as they are. But a woman is forced, because of menopause, to reevaluate, has to reevaluate her routines, and also she's getting more aware about her needs. That's going to disturb the balance for husbands who don't know what on earth is going on. So about informing, educating, talking with information and experience and respect. There needs to be a loving respect of, she's not doing this in spite. It's an opportunity to reevaluate the relationship maybe as well, and to involve him, both sides. I've seen that's the way to make this more successful. That's what happened in my own marriage as well. It's tough. It is tough because it's not just women who go through a midlife and their menopause, men go through theirs as well. So if we can become partners in our own individual process, that's a winner.
Very well said. So, Lena, you have spoken, whenever you have spoken in all your answers, we have touched upon a bit on the mental health,
Mm,
which is a very important
mm,
facet of your work, and definitely menopause.
mm.
So, what are the warning signs that women should look for as far as mental health is concerned?
The mental health, first of all, is, I come back to anger. It's there's so many shades of anger, and anger is when you start to recognize I'm getting more irritated and angry. Things I would tolerate before, I'm not tolerating anymore. And if anger doesn't get processed, it can become frustration. If frustration doesn't get processed, it becomes resentment. And if you're starting to collect points against anyone, whether it's your husband, your children, that's when you have to catch there's something not okay. And that's when you need to get some help, and to recognize that is not a it's not a healthy way to be. But also the fact that you may go the other way, where you withdraw. You may want to withdraw from life and think, I can't cope, because you're feeling simply overwhelmed. I can't cope with all this. And we just want to hide under a blanket, go to bed and not get up. Many clients I've worked with go through that, can't face the world. And if you're noticing you're not contacting friends or going out with friends or family, that you're preferring to just stay in your own company all the time, then to check that out as well. Also with anxiety, feeling like you're literally, your heart's palpitating at the thought of socializing. Again, checking that out, whereas before you may not have. And these are all signs that perhaps you do need to take some time to be quiet, because that's what menopause invites us to do, is to become introvert. But it's when it becomes prolonged, that it's used as a coping mechanism, that's that's when we need to be aware. And also the other one is, in terms of mental health, that you keep saying I'm fine, everything's fine, and everything's wonderful, when actually it's not. That's what we call incongruence, that what may be on the outside doesn't match what's on the inside. So we get a confusion going on, and that can be incredibly turbulent and cause that inner conflict within, which is not healthy, because that can then put pressure on our heart and our blood pressures, on our digestive system, and we keep going. That's the other one. We just keep going and don't recognize the bodily symptoms where our body may not be coping. As I said, with blood pressure conditions, digestive problems, pain, our bodies are very wise and can often reflect what's going on mentally. So it's about listening, really listening and taking heed and acting.
Well, that's some food for thought. Lena, let's say if an organization has to listen to you, or if they want you to speak to their employees, or if a group of women want to
Mm.
have you talk to them, how do they reach you?
They can reach me via my website, which is www.praxis, Praxis, -therapy.com, and or email lina@praxis-ppd.com, and I'm very open to being a source of information and knowledge, and hopefully a catalyst, because the knowledge they will already have, but they don't realize it. We just got to connect the two up.
Yes, true. In fact, as you very rightly said, each subject that you've spoken about can kind of lend itself to another podcast on its own. They're very deep subjects, but overall, I think we have you have given us a lot of food for thought. You've given us a lot of information, which we will reflect upon. I'm sure the audience will do so too. Thank you so much. It was wonderful having you here. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
Well, simply to say thank you for being so open-minded to cover this subject, because as I was looking at the WHO statistics, and what they were saying was at any one time, 26% of the global female population will be in menopause. And I worked that out to just over 1 billion people. Billion women are in menopause simultaneously. That's a lot of women. And if we can reach out and connect up with as many as possible, not only do we end the suffering in silence, but it also opens up a huge potential to make this planet a better place to live in for all sorts of reasons, socially, globally, climately, relationally. I think that's a really good way to end this.
Thank you so much, Lena. That was wonderful talking to you. It was so wonderful to have you here. Hope to have you here more often to speak to us.
Thank you. And
Good day.
I've really enjoyed speaking with you too. Thank you.